September 20th, 2023 Regional Council meeting to order. Will you stand for a pledge of allegiance? Moment of silence. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, thank you. Mr. Secretary, if I could trouble you for a roll call, sir.
Okay, I'm going to do my best with the names because I'm not familiar with some of the names that are on here.
Hey, you works.
Okay. Dutchess County, Chrissy, say your last name.
Amy.
She's not here. Okay.
Chrissy, not here.
Chrissy's not here. Oh. Dave Violante.
Here.
Joan Siebert.
Here.
Anthony Sang. Is that how you pronounce the last name?
Yes.
Okay, not here. Dave Jensen. Steve Scully Beeman. William Marshall. Orange County, Michael Big. Rich Haley. Wayne Chen. Dave Grass.
Here.
Israel Knobloch. Frank Cassanite. Michael Wachowski. Nancy Pfeiffer.
Here.
Putnam County. Robert Cuomo.
Here.
There you go. Dave Jacobson. Here.
Nice.
I am here.
Come on in, find a seat, guys.
Faith Martin is not here. Nicholas Falcone. Sarah Baker. Next page. Rockland County. Bernice Garati.
Here.
Did I say that right?
Yes, beautiful.
Nick Ruiski. Did I say that right? No? Okay. Tim Egan.
Here.
Desiree Leon.
Here.
Glenn Alvin. Teresa Hamilton. Ephraim Tober.
Yeah.
BJ Leader? Leitner? Yeah, here?
No.
Sullivan County, Albie Bachman.
Sitting on Tim's lap.
Okay. Alex Rowe. Neil Meadow.
Here.
Norman Prentice.
Here.
Jeff Ashdown. Sean Lewis. Ulster County, Richard Parrish.
Here.
Kelly Nelson.
Here.
Karen Pardine.
Pardini.
Pardini, sorry.
Here.
Here. Matthew Goodnow. Austin Heller.
Here.
Cody Carroll.
Here.
Okay, I have a couple of letters from the county councils that I'd like read into the minutes. We have two letters from Putnam County. First one dated August 24th, which says the Board of Directors, Putnam County EMS Council has voted to have Robert Cuomo as a delegate on the Hudson Valley Regional EMS Council, so he remains in for his next 4 years. We also have a letter from Putnam County dated September 20th, 2023, from the Board of Directors, Putnam County EMS Council has voted to have Michael Mikulski, did I do that right? Mikulski as an alternate delegate on the Hudson Valley Regional EMS Council, replacing Faith Martin. Okay, and the other one that we have is from the Orange County EMS Council. It says to whom, it's dated August 31st, to whom it may concern, Nancy Pfeiffer will be filling our open seat as an alternate for the term. Wayne Chan will be filling our open seat as a delegate for the term. Sincerely, Brian Williams. Okay, does anybody else have any other letters that they want to submit? If not, is there any delegates or alternates that we did not call that's here and present? Outstanding. Welcome aboard. What I would like to do before we go on with the agenda is just recognize our guests that are here tonight. So for those of you whose name was not just called, if you could just take a minute, stand, tell us who you are, where you're from, social security number, and mother's maiden name. Now let's just go with who you are and where you're from. We'll start over with the esteemed Mr. Mitzel.
Tim Mitchell, coming home. I was on this council a couple of years ago, left to go to grad school. I am the Director of Safety and Emergency Management and EMS Liaison for the Health Alliance of the Hudson Valley in Kingston, and you all are in our job description.
Congratulations, welcome
And we
aboard.
are encouraged to participate, not that I should say that out loud. So whatever you need.
Nice. Got a job for you.
Greg Berger, I also represent Westchester Health at Mid-Hudson Hospital, and glad to be here.
Congratulations, welcome aboard.
Thank you.
Who's behind you there? Oh, that's Karen. Everybody else? I believe we're coming around the room.
John Mahoney, Dutchess EMS Coordinator.
Thank you, John.
Mark Miller, I'm Brewster Fire Commissioner.
Outstanding. Do we get everybody? Phenomenal. All right, so we have a quorum, sir?
Yes.
Outstanding. So let's move on. And I need an approval of the minutes that were sent out on May 7th, or from May 17th, 2023. I need a motion to accept. I got a motion, need a second. Amendments, corrections, deletions, additions. Did anybody read them?
Yes.
There's no doubt you read them, sir. All right. So nothing? All those in favor of accepting the minutes from May 17th?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstained? Outstanding. Vice President's report, sir.
Okay, represented the council at the Lower Hudson Valley Mutual Aid Coordinating Entity at the Comfort Inn. They did a tabletop, but for life I can't remember what the tabletop was about. I missed the September meeting because I was out of town. And then the Lower Hudson Valley Hospital Mutual Aid Coordinating Entity, they had their meeting in June. It was just that. All right, let's see. The Training and Ed Committee for the state, they had 2 conference calls. They were supposed to be an hour. They lasted over 4 hours. All right, one was they're revising the education plan, and they were looking to make that an emergency order, but it didn't get passed, or it didn't make it to the state council last week, so that didn't come out. But there's some significant changes in it if it comes out, when it gets out. And then they're looking at the operations plan. That's gonna go through the normal revision process, so we'll see where that goes. And then also represented the county at the the region at the Orange County Awards and EMT graduation program, and the Ulster County EMS Council, two meetings.
Very nice. Any questions for Rich? Very good. My report. So just a couple of things that I'd like to touch base on this evening. First of all, council member participation. For those of you that made it here tonight on such a beautiful September evening, thank you. We do appreciate it. It's the only way we get any work done. It's the only way that we can move the agenda and the goals and objectives of the council forward is by having people here, participating and moving through it. So one of the things that we're going to have to do, this body voted over a year ago to hold council members accountable for their attendance, for their participation. We have quietly and politely tried to remind people that your participation is expected and required by the bylaws. So what we're going to do, effective December, is twice a year, once in January and once in June, we will compile a report back to the local councils of who has participated and who hasn't within attendance. And that's in the bylaws as far as what we're allowed to do and not do. What's important to understand is we're not trying to use this as a punishment. We're not trying to use this as a whipping stone. We understand that life gets in the way, but the only way that we move the agenda forward is by working as a cohesive team with multiple voices representing each one of the councils. So we need people to participate. Can't just be a feather in your cap that you sit on the council and you're part of this team. We need you to be an active part of the team. So we'll see where that goes. If people are not happy with that, I would encourage you to approach the bylaws committee and rewrite the bylaws. But until then, you've charged me with following them. So unfortunately, I'm going to follow them. right, and be the bad guy for just a little bit of time. On a better note, you will notice that over to my shoulder here, we were looking at Rich Parrish. One of the things that we did is we realized as we were going through our budget, ending out the year, that we had a little bit of extra money that we had not allocated into some of the expendables that we were anticipating. So we kind of sat around and brainstormed. And I really pushed hard for us to modernize our presentations here at the Regional Council. The screen behind us has been serving very well, but unfortunately it's an early 1980s circuit, and it's just not feasible because the projector, for those of you that have been here when we've been trying to do presentations, was barely visible, especially if there was daylight when we were doing the REMAC or any kind of special presentations. We aggressively tried to get the landlord to do it. They're thinking about it, but we decided we were going to move forward with our own process. So what we did was we went and purchased this large screen TV. Bill also found the stand. We've come to realize that the stand could be a little higher. So we're going to look at how we're going to do that. So the reason and logic behind that was, as people come in for presentations or we want to review stuff, having something that goes to it. You will notice that my laptop is currently sending to it, and it's wireless. So there's no connections, all we had to do is plug it into the TV. So when you, from your individual councils, come up, or one of our representing hospitals want to make a presentation or have a presentation, they simply bring their laptop, we wirelessly dial into it, and we can make the presentations and go through there. We're hoping that the landlord will come around and go to it, but it's not, right there. To that end, for those of you that go to State Council, participate in State Council, probably 2 years ago, you guys help me out if I'm off, they started a program which was Boardable. And Boardable is a platform that the state pays for and utilizes to pass secure documents, data, information between SEMSCO members, CMAC members, committee members. So when they're having discussions or they're reviewing material as part of their tag and or they utilize that platform. So as part of that, the state had approached Bill and I and said, we can set one up for the region at no cost. So we decided to take advantage of it. So most of you, and anybody that didn't give me a hands in the air, should have gotten an email from Karen inviting you into Boardable. Yes? No? Yes. Okay. Do me a favor, just see me afterwards. We'll get your email, make sure we've got it correct, but we want to get you into it. Why are we doing this? We're doing it for a couple of reasons. So what makes Boardable nice is it allows us as a council to be able to share information back and forth. It allows, for any of you that have ever watched Karen literally have a nutty, trying to figure out whether we're going to have a quorum or whether people are coming or not. It's time consuming and it takes away from the other tasks that she's tasked with doing. This allows you to be able to acknowledge right away, and we can look in there and see, who's coming to the meetings. And I'll just kind of give you an example. When you come into the council meetings, you can see that, Tim Egan acknowledged, yes, he's coming. Cody Carroll acknowledged. Jeff Crutcher acknowledged. Karen said, no, hell no, I'm not coming. Well, she's on vacation, so good for her. But what it does is it gives us an ability to quick look inside the system and know whether we're going to have a quorum or not. And we've got a lot of actions that are going to be coming up over the course of the next 6 to 12 months, whether it's an expansion of a CON or a CON request. There's going to be a lot of stuff that we're going to be doing as a council that's going to require your participation. We need to know when you're going to be here and not be here. So this is just another platform. What we're going to end, we will do it one more meeting, is send them out direct emails to you. But then at the first of the year, we're going to start using this platform exclusively. Right? It allows us to be able to share data. So for the chairs, if you want to upload your minutes or your notes from whatever you're going to do, you upload it into Boardable. It's going to save the secretary a ton of time because it uploads right into there and they can pull that out and have a document that's easily, and you can review it at any time. So, everything okay, Kellen? This is not
She might
working.
need a fan, she's freaking out a little bit.
We can work, a computer is a square device that, we'll teach you how to use it, don't worry. What's that? Believe it or not, it's accessible over your cell phone,
Oh, good.
right? So it's an online platform, so that's what makes it nice. If you want to be sitting on the beach, sipping a margarita, looking at the notes from the council meeting, go see a psychologist, but it's possible, right? It gives you that opportunity to be able to view it anywhere. But more importantly, for the agency staff and myself and Rich and the rest of the committee members, it's going to be a more streamlined way of moving data back and forth and information back and forth. So we're going to see how it goes for a year. Questions and concerns? Yes, sir.
Is this available to the local county councils as well?
That's a great question. I do not know.
I don't think so yet. I know
Not
it's
as
moving in
of
that
yet.
direction. They started off with the state councils and then moved towards program agencies and then regional councils. And I'm not sure how much further it's going. It's possible though.
I think I just got an invite from Ulster County 911 for one, too,
Yeah, I'm not sure.
from the agencies. Of course, I don't know how to do that.
So again, it's a great platform, but for us internally, like David's group with training and education, when they're developing their classes and their programs and brainstorming stuff, it's going to be an easy platform for them to be able to go. And in full disclosure, it's an easy way for the chair people to look to see who's participating, because you get a fingerprint of who went in and looked at it and who viewed it. As an example, I can go back and tell you that Israel Knobloch looked at the agenda for tonight yesterday. So not that, Big Brother is trying to look over your shoulder, but it's just another tool to help us keep this council moving forward and really into the 21st century. So that's really where it's going. Sue had some. John? Go ahead.
Non-council members who attend these meetings, are they gonna have invites to it?
Great question. We have not discussed that.
And miss out on all your company.
What's that?
And miss out on all your company.
No. It's just, that's a great question. So I would imagine, right, and I'm gonna shoot from the hip on this. I have not talked to Rich or the rest of the executive board, but if you attend these meetings in an official capacity, my gut's gonna say yes. As the Dutchess County EMS coordinator, you should have access into that. As the liaison from, Mid-Hudson Regional, you should have access into it to be able to do it. Because equally, it's a way for you to share stuff with us.
I believe in the bylaws, it says that they are members, what's the right word, not voting, but they are.
So it's a great question, and I can assure you that before the next council meeting, I'll have an answer on that, because I really want to run it past the executive board and really just get there, and then we have to figure out from the state how many of these we can give away. Because I don't know what the limitation is on members inside it,
I'm not sure either.
so.
You also have the ability to go in and set up your own account so that it can email you when something has changed in your committee or notes or anything like that, so that you don't have to go in every day looking for things. It'll tell you when something new is there.
So we're gonna really try and move that. Again, next month, we will absolutely send the minutes and the agendas and everything to regular straight emails. But then by the first of the year, when we get into the, I've got it here somewhere, February 15th meeting. Let's hope it's February 15th. Those all say 23, make sure they're the right dates. Look at the calendar. So, we're gonna start using Board of Alliance exclusively when we go through that, just to see how it works. So, go ahead, Tim, I'm sorry.
No, I just wanted to say, it's a great collaborative tool at the committee level, at state council, when we have documents that were in the middle of editing, proposed legislation, things of that nature. We just go back and forth with edits and see who did the edit, who did it not, and comments, that kind of thing. So it's really good collaborative tool.
So it's a good tool, we're gonna try and use it. Bill's just checking the dates. Karen produced all the meeting dates for next year, but they say 2023, so I'll make sure she didn't accidentally look at the wrong calendar. So, all right, and the only other thing that I have for my report, David, I'm sure will report on it through the CMAC SEMSCO meetings, but what was announced was that there is a $10,000 fund. It's a multi-million-dollar fund, but each council will have access to $10,000 specifically for recruiting. So what I'm going to do at new business is I'd like to put a recruitment tag together and then start working on what we're going to do. I know Steve has a presentation. Do you have it with you?
I have it.
Bob's got it.
Has a presentation of what Putnam did several years ago as an example of a recruiting tool that we might want to think about as a regional council. One of the things that we really talked about, and Bob and I talked about it at great length, was how do we, where did we talk? It was Putnam County EMS Council meeting.
Right.
Right. So we talked about, what can we do as a council that we're doing collaboratively that works just as well in Putnam as it does in Sullivan, as it does in Rockland, as it does in Dutchess, Orange, or Ulster. So, and making it up. So, what's that? Sullivan is part of our team, right? So, but all of our geographic areas are different, so we would really have to work together collaboratively. So that's what I'd like to do as far as moving forward with that.
This does say 23 dates, so that you have one more meeting in 23, but these are the 24 dates.
Okay. Last but not least, if the dates are wrong, we will blame my colleague to my left. But the Hudson Valley EMS Council dates will be posted up on Boardable, but right now they appear they're going to be Wednesday, February 14th, May 15th, September 18th, December 18th, all at 7 p.m. here at the building. And those will all be in 2024. Okay.
Are you bringing candy for February 14th?
February 14th, there will be free hugs from our vice president.
That's the second time you called me under the bus this week.
Okay, any questions for me?
Can we just run those again, please? I'm sorry.
The dates?
Yes.
Absolutely. February 14th, May 15th, September 18th, December 18th.
And the last meeting for this year?
Sure. December,
What goes out, 20th, I believe.
I'd have to look.
December 20th.
December 20th. Thank you. That one wasn't on my list. Any questions for me? Hearing none, Mr. Chan could not make it this evening. I believe Bill has the treasurer's report.
Yes.
Thank you.
Just so everybody knows, Mr. Chan is in New Orleans accepting the National Award for EMT of the Year. So that's why he is not here.
Terry's there with him also.
Along with Terry Hamilton, who was also there, yes. Okay, so the treasurer's report. We wrote 47 checks and worth $91,721. Most of them were rent and insurance. We had some miscellaneous payments to other things like water, internet, phones, all the stuff that we need in the office. And if anybody wants to see the details of that, you'll have to talk to Wayne next month. He'll be back next week, actually. We transferred $30,000 into payroll on August 16th and another $30,000 in June 29th. There have been 4 deposits since our last meeting, totaling $87,033.61. We have 2 pending vouchers, one for the program agency of $78,712 and one for the regional council of $5,507. That actual regional council one was paid. We got it yesterday, so that was after he had written this report. So our outstanding balance is $78,712 with them. The only activity we had in the education account was the 6 checks that we wrote to regional faculty for this certified instructor course, lab instructor course. So that was our only expense in there this year, and we have not gotten reimbursement on that yet, but we will. Our account balance at this point in time is $47,000 in conference. Program agency is $105,217, and payroll is $22,669. I just misplaced the. Oh. scared me because I know we didn't have that much. A total of $168,351. He did want to make a note that there was a banking mistake where there was an overpayment of $2,000 on a check that we had written, and the bank has corrected the mistake and has redeposited that $2,000 into our account.
Which was a good catch. All right, can I have a motion to accept the treasurer's report? Austin, thank you. Steve, you're gonna second it? Any questions? Any questions on anybody? Motion to accept? Everybody in favor? Opposed? Abstained? Outstanding. Bill, do you have time for the office report?
Okay.
Please.
So CMAC and SEMSCO happened 9/11, 12, and 13. It was done in person in Troy, and I'm sure Dave is going to have us an update on that, so I'll skip over anything but there. The general financial picture of the council and the program agency is good, and like I said, we only have one voucher outstanding. Our contracts have been approved. Well, all the contracts have been approved. We haven't gotten a voucher for the program agency as of yet because we put in a budget modification that the contract had to be approved before we could do the budget modification, and then after the budget modification gets approved, we can send in the voucher. So everything's done, the budget modification is in, the voucher is in, but they can't accept it until they approve the modification on the budget. It usually takes a little while because they're doing all the program agencies at the same time. The Collaborative Protocol Committee has met several times over the last couple of months, and protocol revisions were presented to CMAC for approval, and there was a bunch of stuff that was approved. And the way they're doing it now is it gets approved, all the suggestions are in, and it's voted on in the September CMAC, and they'll be approved once a year in January, so that training and implementation can be completed by the end of the first quarter, hopefully. All right. So, and they're also doing a log of all the changes in the protocol, which they did on the last change and they've done on this one. It looks pretty comprehensive. They did a lot of cleaning up on this group of protocols. There are 4 surveys that are on the Bureau of EMS website, and they'd like everybody to participate and do those surveys so that they can get feedback on information. One of them is the EMS salary survey. Now, they've gotten a substantial response on that, and they put out some very good documents from that about payroll, what the expectation is, what the average is, and what within the regions within the state. So I do have copies of them if anybody is interested in that. We can go over that. They also have a diversity, equity, and inclusion survey out there. I haven't seen that one, to be honest with you, so I don't know what that one looks like. There's a Part S feedback. Part S is all the new stuff that came in out of the governor's budget this year that we've talked about several times and went into effect. So there's a survey on feedback on that. And then there's the Rural Ambulance Service Task Force Stakeholders Survey, which they'd like you to take a look at for anybody that's in a rural area. It's a tag that was set up. It is a tag, I think, right? That was set up by the council to look at ambulance in the rural areas. So if you go onto the Bureau of EMS in their website, you go to forms, and in the forms, they actually have EMS provider feedback and surveys. Click on that, and all those surveys will drop down. There will be some more coming out. They really want to know what's going on in the field and everybody's input to it. The Hudson Valley REMAC has a new advisory coming out this month, which will be Monday. It will be this Monday coming out, right? So it's going to be on TXA. That TXA has been approved by our REMAC and has been approved by the RTAC. It was approved several months ago, and I believe it's actually in use in some of the regions, some of the agencies. We've also combined CP7 and CP8, which is the policy statement on minimum equipment and medication policy. We combined the two into a single statement of what we think the minimum should be for everybody on the ALS side. Unfortunately, there is no update to HCS, so it's still in the same condition it's been. So if you need any information from HCS and you can't get it, give me a call. We will do what we can for you on it. All right? Operating certificates in the Hudson Valley, we have no CONs or expansion of territory applications have been submitted. I have to make a correction on that. I did receive one that's sitting here right now, tonight. So we haven't reviewed it yet, but it's been submitted. So we will take a look at that. We've had a several agencies inquired about the process, and we've answered all of the questions and had some meetings with some agencies that were looking for expansion of territory. On Monday, Spring Hill Volunteer Ambulance Corps in Rockland County applied for an ALS upgrade, and it's will be reviewed and voted on at the REMAC meeting September 25th. A fair amount of agencies, I don't want to say a lot, maybe 5 or 6 agencies have also contacted us about ALS upgrades and what it entails. So we might see some more going around. Portable, Dave went over, so that's good. Our course sponsor, the specialty course sponsor, all our paperwork for renewal has been done, and I assume we got the renewal. We haven't heard anything, so I guess it's good.
I don't believe. Has any course sponsor gotten their stuff back that was renewed? I don't think he's even gotten to them yet.
Oh, okay. Vital Signs Conference is October 19th and through the 22nd, and it's in Syracuse. Our next SEMSCO CMAC meeting will be December 5th and 6th in Troy. REMAC meeting is Monday. Our next REMSCO meeting will be the 20th of December. And RTAC is supposed to have a meeting November 3rd, but I haven't gotten anything back from them, so I don't know if that meeting is going to occur. And that's all I have.
All right, just a little clarification. The CON expansion is not a secret, but it was just turned in this evening, and one of the things that Bill and the rest of the program staff have to do is evaluate it for completeness, and then once it's deemed complete, then it's accepted. If it's not complete, then it gets returned to them so that they have the opportunity to complete it and then resubmit it. So I don't want anybody to think that we're hiding or not sharing anything, but it literally came in this evening, and we got to go through it and make sure that it's complete. That's all. So, any questions for Bill? All right, thank you, Bill. Hearing none. Jeffrey, QI report, please.
Okay, data flow is probably the biggest concern that we have going right now. That was kind of brought to the forefront with the iGel pilot program, and the fact that we are getting some data, we are not getting some data. We took a step today with the state to hopefully at least rectify that with our ESO agencies in this region. And what we are doing is we are stripping the schematron from ESO. So only national elements will be reported at this time, which is still a fair amount of data points that we can use. And now we can at least see the charts that we've been missing. Now, ESO historically has been working diligently to try to fix their issues. However, problems have cropped up that they can't figure out why. We look on the admin panel of an agency and we see that the chart is there. We see that the chart is saying that it is locked, it should have transmitted. It will export a billing chart. It'll export sometimes to the hospitals, but it won't export to us and consequently won't export to the state. We have been in pretty good contact with ESO and working on this issue, but to no good resolution. Theoretically, a lot of this will drop off with NEMSIS 3.5 because the state schematron is going to be a lot less onerous than it is now. Dropping from some 1,030 elements to somewhere in the 250 to 300 range, which is a substantial change. Rules, yeah. So I think that will help on the ESO side. However, we're still seeing issues with Zoll, and Zoll is simply Zoll. And we don't know which silo is doing what with Zoll sometimes.
Hopefully, once we get ESO fixed, we can tackle the commercial side and figure out what's going on there. And again, it's not that the provider isn't completing the chart for whatever reason, it's just not exporting. And we know that when Zoll makes an update to a CAD system, sometimes that update does not work nicely with the EPCR side. But those two sides of the house never talk, so they don't know what is going on. And Tim's nodding his head yes, because we've been going through this for how long now?
Oh, years.
Yeah.
That's exactly right. The two sides of the house don't talk.
Yeah.
That's the perfect way to put it. And he's talking about dispatch, EPCR, and billing for that matter.
Yeah,
They don't talk to each other. They're very siloed over a zone.
yeah.
Always have.
Hopefully, 3.5 will fix some of that, but I don't see 3.5 fixing all of that with Zoll. I have issues with the reports that I run that have been working, and for instance with Zoll, I want to know the level of the agency that's responding. It used to be Empress, Mobile Life, everything would come up, agency levels paramedic. Now I'm getting blanks. So I don't know what the issue is because I've not seen any change logs from any of this that would support why that's happening. Yet it is. It's a worker, I can work around it, it's not a big deal. But with the iGel program, we have a couple of ways that agencies are reporting. And see, we are taking those reports from every place in the state that is using them. And we've got, what, 150
150.
agencies? And probably, what, 75 of them are active now? We're not seeing all the data. We are supposed to get a Drupal form for every iGel insertion. That doesn't happen. Agencies should be sending us redacted copies. That doesn't always happen. If I get a Drupal form and I go on the state bridge to pull the chart, sometimes it's there, sometimes it's not there. And we also will find charts that the state hasn't found with an iGel insertion. And what we have tracked down is, for instance, an ESO chart. If I get the redacted version, I can see where the procedure has been done, who has done it, how it's been verified. When I compare that to what's on the state bridge, all it will show is the quote-unquote airway method. Nothing about an iGel. So the state's report is not going to pick that up. It remains out there kind of an unknown until I dig for it and find it. I've been using our ESO bridge to find charts, and we have found issues with some charts that has been addressed by the state. But I also have a problem because all of my ESO agencies aren't listed on their bridge. So there are issues throughout, and we are gathering the best data that we can with the data that's available. I think we've had somewhere in the range of 75 iGel insertions since the program started that I can find and that the state can find. I'm sure there's more out there. But some of these charts simply haven't made it to a bridge yet. Hopefully, stripping the schematron off of ESO will fix a lot of that, and predominantly a lot of the agencies that we have throughout the state that are using iGel are also ESO agencies. So my fervent hope is if it works for us, and Nassau County is following suit and stripping the schematron, hopefully the rest of the program agencies in the state will copy that and figure out where all the rest of these iGel insertions are. That's been occupying a fair amount of my time. Tim, you have a question?
I do. I listened with interest to the conversation between Pete Brody, the ESO people, and Ryan last week in Troy. And my question is, has there been any thought given to also stripping the schematron for Zoll Enterprise customers?
I gave my opinion on that about 5 months ago, and no, they haven't acted. my opinion was take the state schematron off of all of the vendors, start adding it back an element or two at a time, and then see where it breaks.
That was gonna be my next suggestion.
But, yeah, we've had this discussion.
Because there's problems with all of the vendors. It's not just ESO, it's not just Sol, it's
Right.
not any of the other smaller vendors.
Right.
I kind of wonder if it's the state schematron that might be causing the problem.
A lot of it is, but a lot of it too is a mapping issue from whatever vendor to image trend. Because if it's good on the ESO side and it's not good on the image trend side, they need to fix that, and that's simply a mapping problem. And that's across the board with all vendors. Interestingly enough, I have also noticed problems with direct entry image trend charts. That shouldn't be a problem. Image trend to image trend should not be a problem, yet it is.
So the one thing that, we just have to keep in mind, it's not perfect. We're working on it. We have an inside track with a guy that happens to sit on the quality metrics committee at the state level that happens to have the ear of not only Peter Brody, Alex, and Ryan, and is doing a fairly good job of trying to fix it.
Thank you, Tim.
No, you're just talking about.
So Mr. Violante does, we're working on it, and we spend several evenings over a tall drink discussing how we can fix things, but we haven't got to the bottom of the glass yet, so bear with us. We're
You
getting
haven't
there.
got people to listen to this.
What's that?
You haven't got people to listen to this.
Believe it or not, they're starting to listen.
Okay.
So, David, I'll let you elaborate on what some of the changes that are coming.
So, really to Jeff's point, a lot of these vendors have issues. And the most baffling one is the image trend to image trend. It just doesn't make sense that doesn't map well. And so at the quality metrics meeting, we talked about this with Ryan Greenberg, the director of EMS for the state, Peter Brody, who's the director of the data informatics team, chief, whatever it is, I don't know. And a bunch of the other staff, and ESO was there, they came up to the table and talked. And one of the thoughts was to have a small change between now and the end of the year from when we move to the NEMSIS 3.4 to 3.5, to remove the schematron. The schematron is it's a mask. It's like another filter that the state has. So every vendor has to meet the NEMSIS requirements to do all those data points, whatever they are. And then each individual state applies their own mask or schematron to further make requirements. And a lot of the ones that we had at the state level were for quality assurance at the point of entry by the provider. And there were 900,000 rules, and in the middle of the night, Ryan Greenberg was out on Long Island doing a job, trying to do his PCR and texting Peter and saying, "This is bullshit, this stuff doesn't work, what the hell is the matter with this, we gotta fix this." And a number of us have talked to Ryan and talked to Chairman McAvoy and to Peter and to ESO and to all these other agencies, and even above Ryan, to say, hey, look, this isn't working, we have to fix this. And so there is a large movement afoot to do that. The thought at the council meeting was, let's not make any huge changes right now with 3.4 and the schematron, except for taking it off to make it easier to submit things, because 3.5 is coming out starting January. So instead of throwing some other stuff in the middle of it to muck it up, we're in a little bit of a holding pattern. The 3.5 will come out November 1st for those agencies that are able to do it. And starting January 1st, and it has to be implemented by July, it should work. There are a lot of people in high levels looking at this to ensure that it's going to work and move forward. And so it's exactly what we're doing. And what that'll mean for agencies is there's a new policy coming out, the 1202 and 1203, we're working on that to update it so that it really addresses today's things. I mean, a policy from 2012 on electronic data is far too old. And so you'll see that updated. What that means is that agencies are going to be responsible for ensuring that their data gets to the state, which means you may have to get under your vendors to ensure that data gets there. But vendors are also going to be held accountable to ensure that that data flows through. So there's a lot of work, a lot of folks looking at this truly.
Any other questions on QI, data, anything? Good, thank you, guys. We'll go over to committee reports. Training committee.
Okay. We had a CLI class recently. We had about 50 folks in it. Went spectacularly. A lot of great work by a lot of folks here. Thank you all. It was amazing. Everybody loved it. We did 2 online sessions and then 2 in-person sessions, one on a Saturday, one on a Sunday. Kudos to regional faculty here and training committee members who pulled off a fantastic thing. Everybody loved it. They especially loved the moulage component of it. To that end, we're going to look at doing a moulage class at the region for core sponsors around the whole region. Everybody thought that was one of the best parts of the program, so that went very well. It was well received. We may be doing more of those coming up soon. So thanks everybody for doing that. We're looking at a CIU for all the instructors. We're having an instructor update at the Dutchess Community College conference that's going on in November.
It's actually on Veterans Day.
Okay.
It's that Saturday, I think the 12th. What?
Okay. And so that'll happen there. So look for more information on that as that comes out. Do you want me to do the IGEL stuff real quick now?
Sure,
with
go
the
ahead.
training piece
Yeah,
of this?
might as well.
To Jeff's point, we have about 75 agencies that are actively doing the IGEL. We have more than 800 BLS providers around the state trained on this. This is fantastic. This is truly amazing. Pam Finnerty is the new Ulster County EMS coordinator, and she and I have been reaching out to every agency on Tuesdays and Thursdays to talk with them about the program, how it's going, pros, cons, getting the data, doing the Drupal, getting the PCRs in. We are finding that there's about 3 IGEL insertions to every one that we see here at the region, so there's a fair amount going on out there. This is truly great. Everybody loves it, and we're really looking forward to analyzing the data as it comes through. On a sort of a side note with all of that, the Hudson Valley region is doing amazing things in this state, and it's because of the folks here and the work that everybody here does. The IGEL program, not the least of them, and it's being noticed and we're a part of things, and that is great to know and that is great to see. It's great to hear, and so you all should know that as well, that the stuff that you do every day, it really makes a difference, not only locally, but statewide. So keep up the amazing work. It is really good stuff.
We take emails from the bureau staff asking for what we're doing so they can share it with the rest of the state. So kind of puts a little bit of lift in your step when you realize you're doing something right, because they don't want to reinvent the wheel and are obviously happy with the quality product that we're producing. So, you know, kudos.
Unless there's any questions in my report.
Any questions for David? No? Perfect. Did Dr. Pappas send anything in?
No.
Okay. So, all right,
No, just the 2 advisories.
All right, Glenn's not here tonight. Anybody else on the Transportation Committee have anything? Shouldn't, but okay, had to ask. You will notice, if you paid attention to the agendas, there's a blank next to Public Information and Education, as well as Policies and Procedure Committees. We're still looking for chairs. Now, for those of you that are wondering, I left it up here on the board behind me. If you do not see a space in this M classification, that means you have not indicated yet, and I'm going fast because I don't want to single anyone out, you have not indicated what committee you'd like to be on. If you're not sure what the committees are, come see us afterwards. We'll be happy to tell you what they are. Each of them need help. And again, that includes tags, that includes any special projects that we have going on. To kind of reverberate what David just said, the work that you do does not go unnoticed. And we want to continue to hold that high level of respectability across the state when it comes to, you know, people looking at the Hudson Valley. We have a tendency, and, you know, Tim and you know, Bob and Rich and Dave and Bill and myself, we're all at state councils, and, you know, sometimes we get oh, it's Hudson Valley talking again. That's because we're talking and we're bringing up really great points, and people go, yeah, we need to address that, or we need to think about that, or we need to run a program, who's gonna do it? So, your effort doesn't go unnoticed. So I would encourage you to continue to be part of it, so. Steve, what do you have?
Do you have to be a delegate or an alternate to be on the committee?
Yes,
You do.
either or.
Alright.
No, we are happy to take, committee members can be delegate or alternates, but a delegate or an alternate has to be on at least one committee. Okay, so again, if you're not sure, let me know, we'll be happy to add you on to 1, 2, 3, as many as you'd like. All right, and I know we're all busy, I totally get it, but I can't echo it enough. When there's only 4 or 5 people that are lifting the heavy loads, they sometimes get tired. And somebody else to be able to take the banner and run with it for a little while is a breath of fresh air and prevents burnout. We all experience that in our organizations. If the same few people run too hard, they will get tired and set it down. So you have to kind of work towards that going through there. So again, we're still looking for chairs and people to be on public information education as well as policy procedure committees. Legislative and bylaws, Mr. Buckley.
Thank you, sir. Good to see you all.
You as well, sir.
I have 3 items. First one on the agenda is we have a bylaw that needs to be looked at tonight. With your indulgence, we would like to table that until our next meeting for a couple of reasons. One of which that I've been out of commission for health reasons, then I'm back to work. Secondly, we still need some more legal input on language. So we would like to push it over to the next meeting when we'll be complete at that time.
And just for clarification, that was the change on voting members, right?
Correct. Since it's non-emergent.
Correct, yeah.
We'll complete it at our next meeting.
Excellent, thank you.
Secondly, and most important, is the legislation on direct payment. The Assembly and the Senate has moved it along, and it has been signed by both houses. However, your governor has not, at this point, signed it into law. I would ask that this council write something, put something together to the governor's desk, showing the import of this for the survival of our services, that bill.
That sounded vaguely like a motion, sir.
I was gonna say, I make that motion, but I would first have a question. Can we get involved with legislation like that as a council?
We cannot, as a council, lobby. Can we send a letter of support of legislation that's already there?
Yeah, that's the
That
question.
has been signed by both houses.
Unanimously passed in both houses.
So I would encourage the motion to be what you're looking for, pending the confirmation that it's legal for us to do that.
And I'll speak to the attorney about that as well. Does that preclude our local councils from doing that? Sending it in support of?
Same question.
Never mind.
Only having a Judge Judy law degree, I'm gonna have to defer to our council.
Okay, then that'll be another thing that we discuss with council.
I know at state level, we cannot lobby, but I thought we could send, I don't know if we can send it directly to the governor. I know that we can send, as a council, a letter to the Commissioner of Health encouraging him to support it with the governor.
All right.
I know that we can go through that avenue, but I don't know if we can go directly to an elected official.
I shall get clarification.
Well, I would say that we may not have time to get clarification because that is gonna be decided pretty soon. I believe that that's on the governor's, not on the governor's desk, but in the governor's counsel's office. Didn't we have these conversations?
It's been there for months. It's been there.
Yeah, but, I'll
At
check on that.
At minimal, I would echo your sentiment of encouraging each and every one of the county councils and individual agencies to go to their legislators,
Local legislators.
senators, and encourage them to get in the ear of the governor
We can
to
get
support
that.
something that has bipartisan support and made it through both houses. That is a tough enough leap across this state right now. So,
Okay. Thirdly, and lastly,
yes, sir.
old business, but I'll bring it up now since I'm on a roll,
Go.
is legislative breakfast. I think with the change in our legislature this past year, election year, with new assemblymen, assembly ladies, senators, that I think that we should move this along and have a legislative breakfast, I would say in the month of January. There are a lot of things still on the docket that we've been discussing over the years, and maybe with the new blood, we can move things along. Not only have it for our own region, but maybe you, Mr. President, can actually invite other regions to come down to wherever we decide to have it. But it was very successful last time, we'll make it even more successful this time, should the body agree.
Make a motion, my friend.
Huh. Okay. Make a motion that the legislative committee put together a plan to have a legislative breakfast in the month of January. Place to be determined. Period.
I'll second.
Second motion. Any comments on the motion? Hearing none? Hearing none, we will encourage the legislative committee, if this is passed, to figure out where we're going to get the finances to be able to do that. Our newly formed colleagues that sit in the room may be able to tap into some funds at their local facilities that might help with that agenda, especially if they're invited to bring some of them. We're not going to point at any one person. I'm not, I'm on camera. But I think the message has gotten to their plates. We'll make it work, all right, as long as we can get the finance and everything. Any other comments?
I have a couple of additional things
Go.
to add to my esteemed colleagues' comments here. So two things. One, on the legislative committee at SEMSCO, we've been working.
Can we just get this motion done first, though?
Oh, it's-
I thought your comments were on the motion,
Just
sir.
any other comments about the?
No, sir, I just, all those in favor of Alvy's motion, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstained? All right, it carries. Carry on, sir.
Sorry.
Sorry, I thought your comments were about his motion.
No, not at all, my apologies. Legislative committee at SEMSCO, we've been discussing, as Bill was talking about earlier, the Part S issues. And we've had a few things that we've been discussing and trying to, we've had meetings throughout the summer to try and narrow down one specific issue. 3 issues, but one specific issue I want to talk about now is essential service. So we've talked about it at this body, it's been talked about in CMAC, at SEMSCO, and many other bodies around the state. And the one sticking point that I always had was, it's gotta be funded, it's gotta be tied to a funding source of some kind. So Al Lewis is the chair of the SEMSCO Legislative Committee, and we've been working on this, like I said, over the summer. We've come up with pretty good language that we're very close to finishing off. And if I'm not mistaken, at the main body, there was a motion, a seconded and voted on motion to allow the legislative committee to polish up that language and then submit it to Ryan so that he can get it to the governor and so on. So we're working on that, but it is pretty good language. Stay tuned to the final version. I don't want to throw out the draft. I don't think it's going to be much different, but we're working on that pretty hard. The other thing I wanted to talk about was the community paramedicine. Well, actually, I'll save that for community paramedicine next.
Believe it or not, community paramedicine is next on the agenda, sir.
Since to borrow my friend's words, I'm on a roll, I'll just go with community paramedicine.
You were next anyway, go for it.
So there was a bill that was signed into law by Assemblywoman Paulin down in Westchester County. But the issue that not that I have an issue with that law, but all it really dealt with were any community paramedic programs that were started under the Executive Order number 4 to allow community paramedicine under the EOs. So it allowed them to continue for 2 years, and that would have to be re-enabled in a couple of years. But that didn't deal with any other programs that are currently going on that weren't enacted under the EO, or any programs that want to get started for that matter. So the issue is still, in my mind, out there. I know that various organizations, some of which I sit on, will be working on this.
Sure.
To try and get a bigger CP bill done so that anybody could actually get involved in this. But that also ties into the language that we're working on the legislative committee and state council with regard to the definition of EMS. So that might help and tie in with that as well.
Perfect. Anything else, sir? Outstanding. I am going to make one adjustment to the agenda. We're going to add in the awards committee met. Each of your councils had submitted your individual award winners. That came to the regional council. Our submissions have gone to the state. But I wanted to give Desiree, who's the chair of the awards committee, the opportunity to be able to present for the regions to see what everybody else came through.
So the
These are the awards.
2022 Regional Council Award recipients for DLS Provider of the Year was Kenneth Cohen. ALS Provider of the Year was Brandon Smith. EMS Agency of the Year was Wallkill Volunteer Ambulance. Youth Provider of the Year was Justin Braunfotel. Harriet Weber EMS Leadership Award was Michael Beninati. EMS Educator of Excellence was Alexandra Williams. EMS Communications Specialist of the Year was Evan Humphrey. Registered Professional Nurse of Excellence was Emma Savini. And Physician of Excellence was Rose Anna Rowntree.
Beautiful.
Congratulations to you.
So I do know that all of our awards went up to the state. They should have already reviewed them, and those will all be announced or to announce to the public at Vital Signs. But a lot of the local winners are probably starting to be notified now, so they ensure they're there. But I would encourage you guys, Desiree, I don't know what your awards were like because I didn't get involved with it, but if you go back to past Vital Signs conferences across the state, the Hudson Valley, to David's point before, hasn't been overlooked. You know, there were some years where the Hudson Valley took home 4 and 5 of the state awards in 1 year. And I don't think there's been a single year go by in the last couple of years that we haven't had at least one representative out of 18 regions win an award. And that's not because I wrote it, not because Bill wrote it or Rich wrote it. It's because one of your agencies took the time to write an award and recognize the hard work that an individual or a group of individuals did and presented it to your local county council. And then you did the due diligence of passing it up to us. We pass it to the state. So again, we could say that we're going to appreciate our members and our employees and all of these as much as we want, but this is a really inexpensive way to give a whole lot of recognition to people that sometimes feel unrecognized. So I would encourage you now, again, 2023 is coming to a close. And go back to your councils, go back to your agencies and really encourage them to start thinking about who's been the standout. And it doesn't have to be, you know, a single individual call or an individual that shined in a brief moment. You know, it can be someone that shows up every day, somebody who guides and mentors and, you know, is bringing up the next generation of providers. So again, be creative. Encourage your county councils, encourage your local agencies to really participate in this. So.
One of the things I'm working on in Rockland is creating some sort of repository where people can send, everybody, like encourage every provider out there to send submissions, and then at the end of the year, I'll sort them by agency and send them back to the agencies, because you forget things that happen, you forget, you know, what somebody did maybe in January, February, March, when you're trying to think of this the following year in that March. So the submissions are always low in my county. They're always low on the regional side, but you know, we're fortunate the ones that do come in are worthy, and like you said, we get a lot of recognition at the state level. So.
Okay.
So
again,
there's a lot more out there.
Every year I try and go to at least one county council meeting and show up, and that really is going to be my driving message, you know, as I go into those local councils. So recognize your people, make them feel appreciated. The mileage you get out of it is immense. So I don't want to stay on that too long. Any questions for Desiree? Again, for those of you going to Vital Signs, hopefully we're going to be another proud region when it comes out. So we'll see. Right? So Vital Signs is the end of next month, through the 22nd. So hopefully we'll see some of you there.
Redoing the form it's just not user-friendly, it doesn't, you download it from the state and it's not form fillable half the time for people. It's just.
God forbid you don't use 12-point font.
Well, it's not.
No, I got it.
I'm happy to talk to Val about that.
Good.
It's the way they're going with all the electronic forms.
Yeah,
Now would
make
be
it
the
an
time
electronic
to put it
submission,
on.
it's even easier.
Yeah. All right, it's a great thought. It's definitely something to put up with it, so. All right, Dave, State Council.
I'll try and make this fast. There's a lot of stuff that really happens. The council these guys, and this last one, we were there. It was so late. It was insane.
Did you say it was so great?
Late.
Oh, late, I was gonna say that. I didn't remember it that.
I would encourage anyone that's ever wondered how things go at State Council to take about 3 hours out of your time and watch the last 4 hours of Wednesday's meeting, because it's a webinar. And you're probably going to at least twice slap your forehead and go, really? That's where I'll leave it.
It got so numb that I left at 3 o'clock. It was,
So,
the
please,
way it
Dave.
was going around and round.
Okay, so Finance Committee, they've talked about quite a number of things. And again, I sent out the notes and minutes from both Jason Haig and myself, so please take a look through those, read through those. If you have, I don't want to say if you have nothing else to do, but I mean, you should take some time and read through them, because
a lot of good
that's what
information.
happens. I mean, the stuff that happens at the state will direct what happens at your agency at the end of the day. So you should know what that is, and we're all a part of it. The other thing is, it's helpful for me and Dave going up to the state to know what y'all want and how you feel about things and how we should look at things. And so if we don't hear from the folks here, then we're sort of a little bit on our own with how we interpret what's going on and what we should do. So please participate in this. Okay, Education and Finance worked on Policy 2309, a funding thing. They're funding EMTs, AEMTs, and the practical skills exams higher than they have in the past. That's great news for course sponsorships. Under the 5th pilot project of recruitment and retention, this is great for our agencies. If anybody has an EMT that got their EMT on their own, paid for it on their own, did it all on their own, didn't get court state funding, the fire department, ambulance corps, rescue squad didn't pay for it, and they're now volunteering for you for some time, look at this policy statement, because it's possible the state will reimburse them for their EMT training. So if they've done that on their own, there's a mechanism now for them to get reimbursed by the state for the EMT training. That's wonderful. If you all want to know why it's taking so long to have anything done, go up to the state website on the forms page. There is a layout there of how long it's supposed to take the state to do any number of things and how long it actually is taking the state to do any number of things. So certification, CME, research, instructor stuff, it's all in here. There you go. So processing time, current time of where things are. So you can have an idea of what's going on that way. There used to be, there still is, a bridge for CCs to go to paramedic. It started a few years ago, and it started off with 102 critical cares going into the program to become paramedics. Classes 9 and 10 each had about 25 students in them, and the last one, the one that's just starting now, has something like 6 statewide. And so the state is really looking at what they're going to do to sunset CCs and just go with the nationally recognized certification levels. To continue on what Tim was talking about from legislative, they're also looking at establishing a payment mechanism for funding from Medicare and Medicaid for alternate destinations, for telehealth, treat in place, and those kinds of programs. This is super important, it's very helpful. You're going to see EMS in the future not being based on transport to the hospital, but treating a patient the way they need to be treated, which could mean maybe they stay at home, but they get a prescription from a telehealth physician, and then a pharmacy delivers medications to them. And so that's sort of the movement forward in what happens. That will help a lot of our agencies out tremendously for a lot of reasons.
I'm sorry, Dave, we're following the ET3 model, they're trying to get Medicaid to take out that
Right, and ET3 is going away, or has gone away.
at the end of the year.
At the end of the year, and so the push is to not call it ET3, but to use the premise of ET3 for these other components. If anybody knows Jeff Quall, super amazing guy. He's working with a number of groups to develop materials how we can all educate others on what EMS is, what we do, and so this includes legislators, elected officials, public officials, et cetera, the public, whatnot, and it will be made free and available to everybody. And so that's just a super fantastic movement forward from that group. Systems spun their wheels with the legality of what came in front of them, and actually had a second meeting. And still there's a lot of movement around with what was going on with some CONs and whatnot, so they didn't move forward as well, but it took a lot of time discussing how they move forward. I think we're gonna see some changes in how that progresses in the future, because the committee certainly does not want to hold up CONs, transfers, or anything else, but they also want to be precise about what folks can and can't do in those processes. So if it seems like it's a little mucked up, that's why. Safety committee talked about mental health awareness and that it's still a big cultural issue. Please take back to your agencies and to your regions that if there are really stressful events that happen for folks, they really should talk about it. Your agency should have some kind of a plan on how to handle mental health of individuals. It's a big issue, it's a big problem, and we need to tackle it. And it can't just be tough it out, don't worry about it, we don't talk about that, just go back home. Like, those things don't work. And so they are finding in going around the state delivering the mental health awareness program that these cultural issues still continue to be a roadblock. Really look at what's required of your agency for Part 821, Section T. As the state's going out and doing all the things for agency inspections and this and that, they're finding things like oxygen tanks out of hydro, not secured, ALS equipment available for BLS providers, like all kinds of things that way. So please follow all of that, the requirements that are out there for what you need to have and how you need to store it and how it needs to be kept so your agency doesn't get jammed up. And more so the provider that ends up at the hospital with a patient doesn't get jammed up by the state and going, oh, God, really? You know.
Can I just interject for a
Please.
second? So, as part of another meetings that we attend, it was brought up and discussed. So for those of you that haven't seen the uptick in inspections at the hospitals, because that's where the state seems to go, it seems ambulances always end up there, so it's a convenient workplace for them. They've got a new, I don't want to say new, but a renewed interest in ensuring that the public is getting high quality care. As an example, not only are they checking hydrostatic tests on main tanks and portables, they're inquiring of the personnel on the ambulance that they're familiar with how to check that and evaluate it themselves, not just relying on a lieutenant or a captain or a logistics person, but they themselves know how to check their equipment and operate their equipment. I know it's a novel concept, but it's important for you to take that back to your agencies that, the job requirement isn't just something that's a piece of paper that we kind of wave around once in a while. It's real. And, you know, to their point, we should be doing that. We should be ensuring that the public is receiving high-quality care. And that's what they're doing. So be cognizant of that and take it back to your agency. Start to interject.
Absolutely.
It's real.
I expect interjections from those who are around who remember this better than me. Absolutely. Quality Metrics Committee has been meeting monthly. We had a large discussion of what we talked about with data and where it's going, how it's getting there, and the schematron update and 3.5, NEPSIS 3.4, 3.5, all those things. That was a very big step that we all took at the state level with the involvement of everybody present to ensure that we're looking at data, how it's getting to where it's going, turning schematrons off to get the data moving, because it's not just that the state gets the data. The things we do in the field make a big difference in patient care, and that data also goes to the hospitals. A great example of this was brought up at the Med Standards meeting, where two of the docs did a study on patients receiving medications in the hospital, and it was shown that the folks in the pre-hospital environment already gave the medications, but because the chart didn't go in to the hospital, by the time it's 3 and 4 reports in, right, you give a report to a charge nurse, she gives it to someone else, they give it to the doc tells someone else. The person who's finally looking at the chart on the computer, medication wasn't given, they give the medication again. And so patients are receiving medications for the 3rd and 4th time sometimes when they've already had them in the field, and that's a problem. So in all areas of CMAC and SEMSCO, we're looking at this to try and rectify this problem and this issue. We are looking at performance measures around the state as well. And so you may start seeing these things coming. This was in the governor's budget that we will do this, we being SEMSCO, in developing performance measures for the EMS system. So perhaps it's not that you have a CON to operate in an area anymore, but perhaps it's that you've actually gone on 90% of the calls required of you or requested of you in your area as to whether you keep your CON. One of the ones that was put out there. Other ones from the quality group was that you have a quality improvement program and that you have a quality improvement coordinator and that you notify the region as to who those folks are and what your quality improvement projects are. At the last meeting, the SEMSCO adopted all of the quality improvement measures that the Quality Metrics Committee presented, so all this stuff is coming out. The QI manual was adopted at the last one. It's now, I don't know if it's actually on the website now, but it's out, and we are happy to do quality improvement training around the region. We're going to be doing it around the state as part of a pilot project as well. It is also going to be at Vital Signs conference. We have 2 of the folks from our committee presenting the NAMSI program. That's the NAMSI program. Up at the conference as a pre-con, and we'll have those out and available for folks as well. So we're happy to do that too. Innovations Committee talked a lot about the treatment in place, transfer to alternate destinations, reimbursements, etc. And also protocols for critical care transport and interfacility transport to and from hospitals. That's sort of one area that the protocols don't really touch. Med Standards, we talked about the protocol change. Bill talked about that along with the change log. This document is hellacious. Nobody should remember everything that's in there. But you should know how to find what's in there and be able to understand what you're supposed to be doing in there as well. To that extent, the change log is really helpful because there's no way you're going to go through it and say, well, what's changed? I don't know. It's a 400-page document. I'm supposed to know this? And so the change log is beneficial for that, and they've really tightened it up and made it a lot simpler and better. One of the things is that glucometry and glucose administration is out of the scope of practice for CFRs, and so it was removed from the protocols. So CFRs shouldn't be doing glucometry and glucose administration pre-hospital. They did also come up with an alternate medication protocol list that is based on alternative meds in the formulary now, and then also alternate classifications of medications. So if you can't find a specific med, you can go to the medication classification, and that'll be the update. I think that covers just about everything that was out there. We have two folks that have been nominated for positions on the council. The chair position is Mike McAvoy. I was nominated to the first vice chair position, and Terry Hamilton is nominated to the second vice chair position. So if you think we don't have a voice, we have a voice. If there's any questions, I'll take them. Otherwise, that's the end of our report.
Any questions for David? Thank you for bringing that out. I was going to address that on both your and Terry's behalf. It again goes back to what I was trying to say before. The Hudson Valley is a force to be reckoned with, and we want to continue that. And if things continue in the same fashion, and we all of a sudden have the chair of SEMSCO as also our representative out of Hudson Valley, it says a lot. Right? So especially if we take the first chair in a year. So it'll be interesting to see where that goes. I had one more thing that just dawned on me as we were talking in one of our other meetings. For those agencies, and I encourage your councils to go back to the individual agencies, those agencies that have acquired used or retired 12-lead machines to bring into your BLS agencies for 12-lead acquisitions, make sure, because it's one of the things the state's checking, is that it's locked in AED mode. Some of the agencies have retired 12-lead monitors that they have purchased or were donated that still have the capacity to either go into synchronized cardioversion or manual defibrillation, which means that you can dial up a specific Joule setting. So, and that's one of the things the state's very clear, it has to be locked into AED mode. So make sure you're going back and talking to your agencies for those that are, participating in the 12-lead. And we would encourage them to participate in it. It's a great program. Yes, sir.
Just to piggyback up that, we purchased one of those aftermarket ones. It lasted 2 weeks, and we ended up having to send it back, and we're still waiting for one.
Okay.
That's probably with the AED portion of it.
Okay.
So that's the reason why you haven't seen anything from the Mountain Dew. That's why you reached out to me a couple times. So we've had to put everything on pause until we get our 12-lead back.
Excellent.
But
All right.
we are actually looking, we got a grant, we're actually gonna get a new one. From
Beautiful.
us, so that's what we're working on.
Beautiful. Again, great tool to be used in the field. To be able to go in and then it just, an early 12 lead and then a follow-up 12 lead with a ALS unit and then the 12 lead into the hospital shows progression patterns and just high quality patient care. So I would continue guys to do it. Any other questions on State Council?
Now, as a side note, that too, same thing will apply if you're doing the iGel program and you're using a machine that has capnography because you need to do that. So the same thing applies to be able to use the capnography but disable the ALS components. If you're an ALS agency and your BLS providers are using the ALS monitor, it should not be a problem. If there is a problem, anybody finds a problem with that, please let us know and we'll talk with the state about that because that should not be an issue.
Excellent. Okay. The Vision 2025, which is right around the corner now. Anthony's not here tonight. Is there anyone else that was sitting on that committee that's present? Do you have anything, Karen?
I don't have anything.
Okay, thank you. Excellent. We look forward to the next one. As far as the CISM tag, obviously Wayne is off accepting his accolades, and Brenda couldn't be here tonight, but she did forward some correspondence. She apologized for not being able to be here this evening, but she is looking for approval to move forward. And to be honest with you, you read this more than I did, so can you just highlight it?
Sure.
I glazed it very quickly.
Okay, well, basically, there's a grant that's available from the CARES Up program. It's an initiative changing changing the conversation awareness, resilience, empowerment, peers and skills, and building suicide prevention for the uniformed personnel. And it would be a grant that would be able to do some training and stuff. And this is one of the things that I know she was looking for, to have money to go out and do some training and get some equipment and do what we need to do with that. And it seems like it's a $1,000 funding annually, and it doesn't really say when that annually ends on it. So, I think she wants to look into it, see if it's something that really meets our needs, and maybe be able to pick up that $1,000 that we could use for the training.
So I'd like to get a motion from the floor to allow Brenda to investigate that and follow through on it.
So moved.
All right, got one from David, second from Rich. Any questions or comments on it? Hearing none, all those in favor? Opposed? Abstained? All right, we'll reach out to Brenda and authorize her to start that process of, acquiring that potential grant money. Great project, so, excellent. Any other old business?
Video?
Okay, we can go to the video. I had it under new, but I'll put it under old. Not a problem.
Well, the video is actually old.
What's that?
Very hard to see it.
I can move, but it hurts when I do. Oh, that's not what you meant? Yes, we can move the TV. Would it help, and serious, if we raise that up higher?
Yes.
It's gonna be better to view in there, so we'll look at getting a stand that raises it up, probably equal to the height of the thing. What we tried to do, because it's ours and not the building's, is make it so that we can take it in and out. While we love our other colleagues in the building,
That's much better.
we felt that we shouldn't be donating AV equipment to them. So, Bob, how do you got it?
On a thumb drive.
Bring it up.
Just a little background. We made this video,
1990.
it was like 24 or 25 years ago. So before the days of widescreen and, HD. So it's gonna be, like a 4x3 thing and whatnot. And
Bob had going through his hair.
and I had hair on top of my head too. It was a video that we collectively put together to use as a recruitment tool for the volunteer agencies to use. And basically we showed it on the cable TV channel, and we also gave copies of it to every agency in the county so that they could use it during their open houses and whatnot, and get people excited about getting into EMS. It's about 10 minutes long, so please bear with it.
It did win an award.
And it did win an award, yes. If anybody knows what a Telly Award is, I have a gold statue.
So let me get this. I was gonna say, 20 years ago, televisions?
No.
Around a couple people?
Yeah, no.
No, all right.
But anyway, are you gonna have sound? Because there's sound, obviously.
If there's sound to it, yes,
Yeah.
it should play across TV. It's up 100%. Oh, you know what we might not have? Do we have the remote, Bill, to turn the volume off on the TV?
Should we turn the lights off? Would that be helpful?
Yeah. Somebody wants to catch the lights, please? You might need a sound bar. You might need a sound bar.
Yeah. That's what I think. I just wanted to see how it was over here.
I'm up 100%.
There are emergency medical technicians, first aiders, and drivers. There are also teachers, housewives, and accountants. And they are volunteers. Trapped in the overturned bus. 2 people in the car. The scene is chaos. But out of all the confusion, a logic begins to emerge. Fire Chief Lee Conway will be the overall incident commander. The EMS commander, Cindy Cole, will coordinate medical services. they quickly realize they need more help and call for backup. Patterson Crew Chief Steve Marshwinski oversees triage, the essential first stage. With his crew, he starts sorting victims with rapid physical assessments and color-coded tags. Green for walking wounded. Yellow for serious but non-life-threatening injuries. Red for critical patients. And black if it's already too late. As more units arrive, officers are assigned to supervise treatment, transportation, staging, and safety. And they quickly transform a chaotic scene into well-defined sectors. In the treatment area, colored tarps are laid out. Patients are brought to the tarp matching their tag color. EMTs and paramedics stabilize patients and prepare them for transportation. The transportation officer, Ann Wargo, tracks patients and oversees their transport to area hospitals, notifying ERs when incoming patients are en route. At the staging area, Assistant Fire Chief Adam Steepley coordinates the flow between the treatment area and ambulances. Personnel and gear in, patients out. At the command center, Deputy Fire Coordinator Mike Landies stays in contact with emergency services around the county. Mike's also in contact with the crew of a Stat Flight helicopter, which has been dispatched to the scene from Westchester County. The Stat Flight will airlift critical patients to regional trauma centers. Scene, Safety Officer Pat O'Connell makes sure none of the emergency workers are putting themselves at risk. Firemen continue to stabilize the vehicles to make extrication less hazardous and remove obstacles blocking the access to patients. In the center of the storm, swirling around him, is the Rural Health Network Coordinator Bob Cuomo. He's not participating. He's taking notes. In a few days, Bob will meet with these volunteers and critique their performance. Because none of this, the bus, the victims, the crushed car, is real. This mass casualty incident on this night is only a drill. Accident takes sheer effort by dozens of dedicated volunteers. State and county agencies must coordinate closing the road and creating detours. Local emergency service agencies spend weeks planning the drill and conducting training sessions for the participants. Patients are recruited and great care is taken to make their injuries look real.
Injury from a rib pocket to the chest.
Finally, when it all comes together, the true learning begins.
This is a continual part of an emergency responders education or training, if you will. The training begins in the classroom, but this is what really brings it all together, because the classroom can only teach you so much. This is where you learn.
It's hard when everybody knows it's not real. Sometimes it's hard to keep it looking real, but I think even in this situation, everything that they do, they learn something from it.
This tonight helps to understand that chaos rules, and that's why we do training at all of our fire departments and with the ambulances and firemen, so that before you step out of the ambulance on the pavement for a scene such as tonight, the training is there before that.
It is a lot of work. We practice like any other career. We practice to find out where our mistakes are, find out what we did wrong, and hopefully we can do it better for the next time.
A major incident like this doesn't happen often, so we do these drills to, in some cases, maybe over-exaggerate a problem, but in doing so, giving the emergency responders the preparation needed so that if this ever happened, they would be more prepared for it and do the most amount of good for the most amount of patients.
Take you to the hospital.
that could occur. These are overwhelming incidents that will test every ability of the county's emergency medical system to respond. But I think the people that are here tonight have proven that we can meet the challenge.
These volunteers are meeting challenges every day, but they can't do it alone. The fire and ambulance departments of Putnam County need more drivers, more care providers, more rescuers, more volunteers to be the first to respond.
We're very close. There's not many of us. In each town, there's a certain core of volunteers. We need more people to help us. And when someone joins our ambulance, they will go with some of a more seasoned veteran, and they will respond with them so that they can get to see how it looks and how it feels and what we do.
When I started, I had no experience whatsoever. So I was very concerned, but I'll tell you something, knowledge is everything. I went to the EMT course, and that knowledge just bolstered my confidence, and I feel like I've changed my life by being in it.
Okay, if you're doing a strap, flex the bag, under the bag, under the lines, yep. I've been a volunteer for 22 years now. It's a great group of people. They're terrific, and they're one of a kind.
They come from all walks of life. We have housewives, we have bank tellers, and when we come together on the ambulance, we're all the same.
Okay, this guy's been unresponsive since I got here. His behavior, and I gave him their way, and I told him he was alive. It's operable. Couldn't get to him until I got some other people out.
They took me under their wing, they taught me, they stood by me when I made mistakes. It was as if I became part of a family. They're a great bunch of people, great teachers, great supporters.
Any kind of personality could fit into the mold. It's hard. It's totally hard. And this is a true profession that you can do volunteer. And boy, I get so much more back than I give.
I told you he has an airway in. Do you have an airway in? I can honestly go to sleep at night and say I made a difference in someone's life. You'll never know the reward you get when you calm the fears of a child at a car accident, or if you take care of an elderly person or just a person in need. And when I went into this, I came away saying if I made a difference in one person's life, it would be worth it. And I feel I've done way more than that already, so give it a shot. You have nothing to lose, only to gain the knowledge, and it's a great, rewarding experience.
Why do these volunteers go to such lengths for a training exercise? Because they need to be ready to respond, to make a real difference in real people's lives. Do you have what it takes to join them? If you have a desire to help others in need, you are already qualified. When you join, you'll receive all the free training you need to provide skilled emergency care, to be there when it really counts, to be a first responder.
Lights?
As you have seen from the video, Putnam is indeed fortunate to have such a well-trained and dedicated group of volunteer EMTs. Hi, I'm Bob McMahon, Fire and EMS Coordinator for Putnam County. Seated behind me is the next generation of EMTs, soon to hit the streets. Right now they're going through their paces with Bob Cuomo. Very soon they'll be in every ambulance station throughout Putnam County. We need your help. If you think you could spare a couple of hours a week, a couple of hours a day, please contact your nearest ambulance station or fire department, or you may call the Putnam County Bureau of Fire and EMS at 228-1510, and we'll be glad to give you any additional information. That's how older. Thank you for your support of the EMS in Putnam County, and thank you for watching this most important video.
I'm just going to go ahead and end it there. Yep. First of all, thank you, Putnam County, for bringing that out today. How many of you had never seen that before? Several? Good. So that really leads us into what I had talked about before in my statement, was what do we do to help ourselves? We have moaned, we have complained, we have found every excuse under the world. Now, in today's technology, these things can be done. Finances, we have a grant and money from the Bureau that we can start tapping into. It's $10,000. What we need now is several individuals that want to take what Bob and Putnam County did here, 20 plus years ago, and turn it into a recruiting tool that every single agency can use. I find it hard to believe that in today's society, that if we do this right, we can probably marry up with the fire department, especially those that are doing EMS. While we're looking to bolster the ranks of EMS, there's a crossover message here. And if it's done right, it can be a recruiting tool for everybody. So, with that being said, questions, comments, concerns? Go, Steve.
So, Putnam County had their, our last EMS council meeting this past Sunday, and one of the topics that was brought up was the video, and obviously every council goes through this too, and every agency talks about how do we recruit, how do we retain. And one of the things that we talked about was that we would like to do another video, probably shorter than this one, that can be used throughout the region. But we would like to team up with at least 1 or 2 other counties to do that. We don't want to do it by ourselves.
Beautiful. And not to sound selfish, I'd like the council to take that on and have it be a representation of the Hudson Valley Council so that it can be used in Putnam, it can be used in Rockland, it can be used in Sullivan County, and every other county that we have. Because I can assure you, ladies and gentlemen, that if we turn out a quality product, the same that these guys did 20 plus years ago, there's gonna be agencies across the state that wanna take our tool and ask if they can use it. And I would be proud, as the leader of this organization, to be able to say, absolutely, take it and use it. Here's what the Hudson Valley can do. So, to get that done, I need a committee that's willing to put this together. I don't expect you to do the work. The committee will be responsible for coming up with the innovative ideas. I would encourage that committee to work with Putnam, to take their lessons that they've learned, and then tag other people outside of this council. The colleges have groups of students that are being educated in, media and development and social media developments and all of those avenues that could use those as projects within their, course to be able to assist and help us. And I find it hard to believe that if we start tapping, some of those assets and resources, that we would get anything but absolutely, how do we help? Because we can turn this into a project for a group of, college kids or high school kids or whatever. So, thoughts?
I'd like to serve on the committee.
What's that?
Said I'd like to serve on the committee.
Outstanding. So, first of all, what do we call it? Recruitment?
Public relations.
Public relations? Listen, I'm open to anything. I want it to be of you, by you, for you.
Is the grant just for recruitment, or is it recruitment and retention?
I believe it's recruitment and retention. We haven't seen it yet, so we have to.
Yeah, it just came out at state meeting. It has a $10,000 per council number on it, which to me was significant. That takes out a whole lot of, some of that cost of the audiovisual and putting it in, and then working with, collaborations between high schools or colleges. Think about all the groups that we have out here.
You have a public information, education.
Absolutely. I mean, we could.
Chair, so maybe it fits under that.
Can Bernadette check with Dutchess Community?
We can do 1,000 things. Let's make sure that this is where we want to go. Yes, sir.
Yes, my department just finished doing this. We hired a company called Westchester Drone Operations.
Okay.
They came in and spent an entire day, a 18-hour day with us. They filmed our guys doing all different types of responses, drills, so on and so forth. And they're putting together small TikTok and Instagram videos that will be released via geo-fencing, for lack of a better term. So it will play in our communities to help drive that. I'd be happy to deliver whatever information I can to help you guys out.
Other questions?
It wasn't expensive either. The whole setup was $3,000.
There's a start. Again, I find it hard to believe that there isn't an organization represented here or a county that is flush with people. The Snickers say it all. So, this is something that every single agency represented in every county that sits on this council could benefit from. Agreed? And again, you know, we kind of went old school when we were sitting chatting about this at Putnam's awards dinner, you know, not even thinking about the, you know, aspect of TikToks and, you know, social media drops, and just sparking the interest. Get them through the door of your organization. Once you've got them in, you can drug them and keep them. I don't care. You know, you figure it out at that point. But we've got to get the public to understand what it is we do and how important it is to their, you know, community that we survive.
I would throw that back out. That's retro cool.
What's that?
That's like retro cool. Throw that back out.
What, the video?
The video, oh yeah.
Yeah.
Pass that back out into
Oh, it's
the-
retro, all right.
It's retro.
I got more hair. Notice the big aviator style glasses.
In addition to recruiting like more volunteers, I think it's inviting people into EMS in general, because I think the paid services are hurting just as much. I think we need to look at more than just recruiting volunteers. We need to recruit people into EMS, whether it's paid or volunteer.
I'll agree with you 100%, whether it's career, for-profit, not-for-profit, hybrid, volunteer. There isn't an organization out there that isn't hurting for good quality staffing. So,
That's
I
another
agree.
issue.
What's that?
Good quality.
Good quality is another issue.
But the only way we're going to attract good quality is to get good quality in the door, right? And that requires to get our message out and get our message into the hands of the right people so that we're going back and doing it, right? We've beat the same doors, we've beat the same drums, and there's nothing left to come off the sides. So we gotta get creative, we've gotta get new, we've gotta get modern, and this is, in my opinion, a perfect way to go. You know, that little piece of information while we were at State Council last week, you know, that there was gonna be some money associated with it was great, because that really takes one of the heavy lifts off, having some funding for it. So, to David's point, I think that's a great idea. I think it's time to, you know, really give the committee a kickstart of the education and public information group to really get it started and go. And this will be their line. This will be, how do we take this and make it better? So I got at least one person on it. I've got two. What I'll ask you guys to do is 3. Do I hear 4? Do I hear 5? Good, because the more voices from around the region, the better quality product we're gonna see. Because we're gonna get some diverse opinions. Because we wanna see everything from, you know, an urban area recruitment right through that rural area recruitment, and how we go after those people and tag them. So, come see me afterwards. Well, I'll put the group together. We're going to set you up as a tag. We'll get you in a chat. We'll get you so you can communicate with each other. And what we'll look for is your 1,000-foot view of how we can move forward with this at the December meeting. I'm going to let you pick the chair.
Wouldn't this fall under the Public Information and Education Committee? Or couldn't it?
What did I say before?
Yes.
I
thought that's what I said.
I thought that's what he said.
So public information and education is where this, it's not gonna be a tag, it's actually gonna be a committee. And I'm gonna let them pick the chair. So what I'm gonna ask you guys to do, all of those that raised your hand before, I have a mental picture, so don't sneak out the door, right? Come see me, we'll get your name, we'll get your email, we'll get a contact number for you. We'll put you all together in a email group, and then you guys can start to set the agenda. Together, you can decide who's gonna lead. Maybe you want co-chairs. I'm all for it. I want you to have complete control of this. The only thing that I'm gonna ask for is that at the December meeting, you present us with a 10,000-foot view of what you think it could look like and what we could do, so that we start moving forward with it. I would encourage the committee to work with Putnam to see what they've got going on. I would encourage us to work with our colleagues in the fire service, because again, this has multiple applications to be successful, and the sky's the limit, really, at this point. So I don't want to dwell on it. So thank you. Again, come on up to me, we're there. Trying to get this moving along because we are getting a little late here. Is there any other new business? Hearing none, I'll entertain a motion for adjournment. Tim Egan makes a motion. We have a second. Thank you, Desiree. All those in favor? All those against? Let me know when you're against.